Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna set up my bullet journal for March, and once again thank you guys so much for all of the support on my last video and also just in general. We actually reached 5,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for me. I never really thought that this would happen, to be honest. I'm also gonna put up some pictures of the posts that I've been tagged in recently, which was super exciting. I love seeing them, so definitely keep those coming if you want to recreate any of my spreads. And I thought to kind of celebrate 5,000 subscribers, we could do like a Q&A video in case you guys want to see that. So if you do have any questions for me to answer about like bullet journaling or just about me in general, you can definitely leave those down below. So yeah, I'll be happy to make that and maybe like paint something while I'm answering your questions. But yeah, I also just wanted to mention that I got sent a huge package by Ohuhu a couple of weeks ago already. I didn't really get to edit it before, but I definitely wanted to show it in this video because I'm going to be using their markers today. So this is a huge marker set, as you can see, and it has all of those markers, but you'll see that in a little bit. I picked out these 3 shades over here. And they also sent me these gel pens, so I'm gonna be trying those out in like a little segment. And just so you know, this video is not sponsored by Ohuhu. They were just kind enough to send me them to try out. So yeah, without further ado, I'm rambling quite a lot today. I'm gonna just jump into a voiceover for the main part of this video now, and I'll see you again at the very end. So I thought I would just start off with the review segment. I'm going to talk about the gel pens first, and I'm also going to put timestamps in the comments, so definitely feel free to skip this section if you want. This set is called the Premium Gel Pen Set, and it has 20 pens, which 10 of them are colors, and the other 10 are gold, silver, and white gel pens. The price on their website is $13.99 in euros, so they're actually quite affordable, and here you can just see me swatch all of the colors. I don't usually use gel pens besides like gold and white, but I actually thought these were pretty nice. They're really opaque and they don't skip when you write, and especially the lighter colors like the orange and the blue are really vibrant, and some of them are actually kind of neon like the yellow, but I especially like the silver one because it's super reflective, which I think would be really nice for hand lettering or just as an accent. The white pen is not super opaque on black, but it's kind of okay if you go over it a couple of times. I also tried out the other colors on the black, and I was actually surprised at how well especially the lighter shades ended up showing up, so I definitely think this is just a great, affordable basic gel pen set. Moving on to this absolutely ginormous set of markers. So these are dual tip water-based markers, and this is a set of 120 markers, and it's actually only $39.99, which is super affordable for the amount of colors that you get. So as you can see, it comes in this foldable case, which is really useful for storing them, and you also get a few extra nibs for the thicker as well as the thinner side of the pens. You also get this color chart, which I don't think is super accurate in terms of the colors, but you also receive these 2 sheets where you can test out the markers and just create your own chart, so I thought that was pretty nice. Now the pens themselves have a pretty simple but nice design. They have a number on each side, and as I mentioned, these are dual tipped, so they have this brush tip on the one side, kind of similar to the Tombow brush pens, and a Fineliner on the other side, which I didn't really expect, but I actually ended up really liking. I did swatch all of the colors so you can see what they look like, and I have to say overall I really like the colors. Obviously with that many you're gonna get some like the red tones at the beginning that are really similar, but I think in general they also tried to include a lot more kind of unconventional shades, which I really appreciated. As for the quality, I did notice that some of the colors don't apply as smoothly as others, so sometimes they kind of skip a little bit, which most of the time wasn't very noticeable, but it's just something I wanted to mention. And I did use 3 of the markers in my setup, and I really enjoyed using them. I didn't really have any issues, and I actually had a lot of fun picking out the perfect shades. So I would say if you're someone who maybe doesn't have a big budget, but likes to use a lot of different colors, or maybe you like to paint with water-based markers, I think this could be a great alternative to something like the Tombow markers, which I know can definitely get very expensive. So yeah, I'm gonna leave the names of these 2 products in the description if you do want to check them out, and I hope you enjoyed this little demo. I tried to keep it short and sweet. So now let's actually get into the setup. As always, I'm using my bullet journal by Arden Olive, and I do have an affiliate code with them, so if you want to buy any of their products, you can use the code ARDENBUJOS for 10% off of your order, and I receive a small commission, which helps to support me, so thank you so much to anyone using my code. As you can see, I didn't actually use my February spread a lot, which was partly due to the fact that I was super stressed out at the beginning of the month, and I just couldn't find the time to journal. But I am going to include 2 more weekly spreads, and then start my setup on these 2 pages here. These are the colors that I ended up picking out, and I wanted to do a more like colorful, kind of playful theme, so I decided on little oranges as my doodles for this month. For the cover page, I started off with this really light rosy shade, and I made these wavy lines just as a background element, and then I started drawing a bunch of little oranges. So first I just used this orange shade to kind of place them scattered around this rectangle, and I did already sketch out where I wanted to write my title as well as a mini calendar, so I left those spots empty. Then I also drew in some little leaves with this dark green shade, and I love the way these colors work together because I just think this rosy shade and the orange fit really well together, and then the dark green gives them a lot of contrast. Next, I used my Muji gel pen to outline the leaves and also the oranges themselves, and I tried to kind of place the leaves differently on each orange so that they wouldn't look too similar. I also wasn't super careful about the outlines. I actually kind of purposely drew them a little bit off because I just think it looks cute. For the mini calendar, I used the Fineliner side of the dark green to write the weekdays, and then again the Muji gel pen to write the dates, as well as the title on the top right. I did also add little dots as details on the oranges because I thought it would make them look more like oranges instead of like peaches or something. And then I also scattered a bunch of little dots, which I pretty much always do just to fill in space and make the layout more full. Then I also made a border all around, skipping the oranges and the title, and I was just love the way that looks. On the right page, I'm sticking with my usual planning sections. So first I used the rosy shade as a background for the titles, which will be a reoccurring theme for this whole setup. And I did include 2 little sections for more orange doodles, one on the bottom left and the other on the top right, so that it would tie in nicely with the cover page. Next, I'm creating the boxes for my sections. And again, for this month, I'm using a ruler and the black gel pen just to keep things consistent. The sections that I decided to include this month are for events, my goals, freelance work, priorities, so basically my to-dos, and as always a little YouTube and Instagram growth tracker. Then I drew some more oranges, and lately I really love coming up with doodles that not only look cute, but are also super simple and quick to do, because I think otherwise, if they're too complicated or too much work, it kind of keeps me from creating spreads as often as I would like. So that's just something I think about when I come up with a new theme. I also decided to add a border all around the left page because it was looking a little bit empty, so I used the rosy shade again, and I think this tied everything together nicely. As a last touch, I also wrote a little reminder on the bottom, and it just says, "See good in all things." Moving on to the next spread, which will be my habit trackers. As per usual, I'm first writing the title into the middle, and I wanted to kind of play with these boxes filled with the orange doodles, so I drew a bunch on the left and the right side, and basically did the same thing as on my cover page. I really wanted doodles that kind of work like a pattern for this month, because the last 2 themes were pretty similar. They were both kind of like branches or plants of some sort, and so the layouts also turned out kind of similar-ish. So I just wanted to go for something different to switch things up a bit. To complete the title, I just added a border again in black, but just on the bottom and the top. Then for my habits, this time I thought of 6 habits that I wanted to include, and I spaced them out on the sides and left the middle empty so that I could fill it with more oranges. So again, I'm using the light rosy shade for the titles and the fineliner tip of the green shade to write the weekdays. The habits that I'm currently tracking are studying Korean, stretching, flossing, doing my skincare, practicing art, and posting on Instagram, which I will try to finally be more consistent with. Usually I outline the shape of the calendar, but this time I decided to just outline a rectangle and then cross out the days from February and April, if that makes sense. I just always find the shapes really awkward to work with, so I thought this would be a nice change. And I actually really like how they turned out, so I might keep this style for my next spreads as well. For these borders, I actually used the orange shade because there was already a lot of black, so I thought it would make the spread look a bit more interesting. I decided to write another little quote into the middle of this empty space because I thought it would be a bit much if I just filled everything with oranges. So I wrote, "Don't sell yourself short," and then I drew more orange doodles around it. I was actually considering if I should make my doodles into stickers, so if you would be interested in something like that, please let me know in a comment. I would love to make more stickers for my Etsy shop again, and I think it would make things a bit easier for people who maybe don't have a lot of time. On the bottom of the page, I'm also including some weekly habits that I'm trying to keep track of. So that's watering my plants, making my weekly spreads, cleaning my apartment, and checking my weekly expenses. To actually track them, I drew 5 little circles with the orange shade for each one on the right side, and they actually fit perfectly into that space, which made me very happy. Last month I created a little expense tracker and I really enjoyed using it, so I'm pretty much including the same layout in this setup. So first I'm writing the title in the same exact style as for the habits, and I thought that these two ended up looking so nice together. I think this whole setup might be a new favorite of mine, to be honest. The doodles are kind of similar to the ones that I did for September, where I made a water lily theme because they were both like really small and sort of like a pattern. So maybe I'll experiment more with this style in the future because it's definitely something I really enjoy. So for the expense tracker, it's just a simple graph where the y-axis is for the amount of money I spend and the x-axis is for the weeks. And I accidentally only made 4 weeks, but I just included weeks 4 and 5 in the last space. I also added a little color code for the types of things that I spent my money on. So I split it into categories of groceries and household, wants and needs, so 3 categories. And last video I actually got a question on how I use this tracker, and basically I write down my spendings for each week in a little notebook, and then I add up the amounts for each category and put it into this graph so that I can visualize it a little bit better. I know this sounds like a lot of work and I'm not sure if I'll actually keep doing it, but for now it's just something I'm testing out. On the bottom, I added the same 2 sections again as last month, one for my Korean studies and one for my art studies, and here I just write down how much I actually study each week. So for example, I use the app Memrise to study Korean, and so I'll write down like how many new words I've learned, for example, and this is just something to motivate me to keep learning and improving. Alright, so lastly I'm doing my first weekly spread for March, and I wanted to keep things pretty simple, so I used my little grid spacing guide to measure out 4 sections on the page. I got some comments about how you actually use this guide, so I hope this helps. And it does only work for the left page, so usually I just count out the spaces on the right, but it's also just useful to see how many spaces there are on a page without having to count them each time. But anyway, so this way I have 8 sections on these 2 pages. 7 are going to be for the weekdays, and then the first one is for another mini calendar and more orange doodles. I also included the wavy lines that I did on my cover page in this first section, and then wrote down the dates into the middle. By the way, I always make these boxes 11 spaces wide because that way I can fit a mini calendar perfectly into the center since it takes up 7 spaces, so I just leave 2 empty on each side. Then of course I drew more oranges, and I think they maybe got smaller the more I drew them, but I still think they look really cute. And because it's only one section filled with them, I don't feel like they're too chaotic or overwhelming, if that makes sense. To contrast the first box, I kept the weekdays super simple, again using the rosy shade as a background for the top, and then writing the days in black, and also adding a simple border, this time again in the orange shade because I wanted to create more distinction between the weekdays and the doodles. I used the orange shade again as a background this time for the dates, and I wasn't super sure where to place them first, but I ended up going for underneath the title because I wanted to draw some more doodles on the bottom. I felt like the sections were looking a bit too empty, so I just added a few oranges on the bottom line of each box to also kind of break up the symmetry a little bit and make the layout more playful overall. Alright, so we're all done. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think it's super cute. It kind of reminds me of the spread that I did for September, or the theme, where I did like the water lilies. But yeah, let me go ahead and flip through these few pages. So yeah, this is the cover page and like my monthly sections. I'm just gonna give you a close-up for every little page. And I was honestly, like, I came up with this kind of layout and I was like instantly obsessed with it. So yeah, but I think it's really cute. I didn't go too overboard with all the doodles, I don't think. And it's still very simple and like sort of clean looking, but just very, I don't know, like playful. So yeah, I think it turned out super cute. I definitely love this whole spread. I think it's just one of the cutest ones I've ever done, to be honest, and I like the like habits and expenses like titles that I did. I think they're a bit different from what I usually go for, and yeah, I definitely want to keep experimenting as always. If you have any suggestions, by the way, for any spreads that you want me to do, definitely leave me a comment. I love reading your guys' thoughts and everything, and I would be happy to get more ideas from you guys. But yeah, and then lastly, the weekly spread, I wasn't really sure how I was going to do the days themselves, but I think this is kind of a good compromise, I guess, because I didn't want them to be too black, like with the outlines and everything, so I kind of just went for the peachy, like orangey tone, but I definitely felt that they were a bit empty before, so I did add these more doodles, and I think this just ties in all of the spreads together. And yeah, I think it's just super cute. Can't wait to get to use this, and hopefully I'll use it more than my February spread. But yeah, I just wanted to do a bit of a more, I don't know, like colorful theme again. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely leave me comments if you want to see a Q&A like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And if you do recreate any of my spreads, definitely tag me on Instagram, and I love to like feature your guys' art, and I think it's so inspiring. So yeah, definitely keep tagging me in those, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching as per usual, and I hope I'll see you again in my next video. Bye!